Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you part one of my April wrap up. I have currently read 6 books in April, and I think I'm going to get at least like 3 or 4 more done. So I figured I'd break it up again, like I did last month. So the first book I finished in April was Bread and Wine, Readings for Easter and Lent, and I showed that at the end of my March wrap up, so I won't show it again, but that was just readings that I did one a day, every day, from the end of January till the end of the first day of April. So that one I finished on April 1st. On April 2nd, I finished The Private Diary of Mr. Darcy by Maya Slater. And I got this over Easter weekend. I went to visit my grandma, and at her retirement center where she lives, they have piles of free books stacked everywhere, and you can just take whatever you want. So I took this and I started reading it on the way home on the plane, and then I just kept reading it, and I got it done on April 2nd. And this is this was fair. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're like really obsessed with all things Pride and Prejudice like myself, because the characterization of Mr. Darcy in it, in my opinion, was quite poor, and I didn't really think she was sticking to canon. But I did like the diary format, and I did like that we got to see things from a little different perspective, and it made me interested in rereading Pride and Prejudice, and it also made me want to read some more of Jane Austen like fan fiction, and so I picked up Longbourn, Longbourn by Joe Baker, and I got that as an ebook from my hometown library. And this is the story of Pride and Prejudice told from the servants' perspectives, the servants of Longbourn. And it's an interesting book. Of course, once again, it's not really as good as the canon, but it did make me think of the Bennets in a different fashion, because we always think of the Bennets as being poor and as being not very well off, but they do have servants, and the servants are quite actually a lot lower in status than they are. So in a lot of ways, the Bennets are very lucky and spoiled. And so I thought this was an interesting perspective. And it also went past the end of Pride and Prejudice and showed a bit of life at Pemberley, which was interesting as well. I also finished um, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, which is the seventh book in the Sherlock Holmes series. And I finished this on ebook as well. And now I'm reading the 8th book, and then I should finish the 9th and final book in May, and I'll be done, which will be delightful. So yeah, this was just same old Sherlock solving crimes with Dr. Watson, and I enjoyed it. The 4th book I read in April so far was All the President's Men by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. And this is the account of Watergate, the Watergate scandal, which is, if you're not from America, you might not know, the President Nixon allowed or like approved a break-in of the Democratic National Committee like headquarters in Washington D.C. And there was a big scandal because the burglars got caught and got sent to jail, and in the process of the investigation of the Washington Post, which is the paper that Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward worked for, it came out that it was a huge, massive cover-up, and that it eventually led to Richard Nixon's resignation. So this was a very interesting book. I got it at Goodwill on the first Saturday of April, and I just started reading it. It's very interesting, but there are a lot of people, and it's hard sometimes to keep everything straight. And I watched the movie after I read this, and it was still hard to keep things straight, even in the movie. So I would not necessarily recommend this unless you're like particularly interested in politics or in newspapers, which I am interested in both, and so that's why I was interested in this. But yeah, I'm glad I read this because it's such an important book in American journalism and in, you know, modern day politics and all that fun stuff. The last book I want to talk about, I finished Brooklyn by, oh man, I'm going to say this wrong, Colm Toibin? Oh, I feel bad I don't know this name. But I read this for a buddy read with a member of a Goodreads group that I'm in, Kelly, and we both bought this book. I bought this from Amazon, and this book feels so nice, y'all. Like, it is such a nice book. Oh my goodness. But, yeah, this is a literary fiction novel about a girl named Ellis, who is from Ireland and goes to America, and she discovers life in America, and she has a job in a boarding house, some girls that she lived with, and she also meets this Italian boy, Tony, and then they fall in love and they get married, and then she has to go back to Ireland due to tragedy, and she meets another guy in Ireland, and so it's sort of about her conflict between like being an American and being an Irish, and so it was very interesting, and I'm glad I read it. And I also watched the movie of this book after I finished it, and really enjoyed that as well. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I have finished so far in April, and like I said, I am going to be doing at least 4 more books, I hope. We'll see. But I'm reading a book right now, and like I'm doing Dewey's Readathon next weekend, and I'm doing another readathon this week, like before the Dewey's. So yeah, I hope to get a lot of reading done in the rest of April. But I will keep y'all informed, and I will see y'all in the end of April with my next wrap up. I hope everyone's having a lovely weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.